welcome to humanity's Vanguard HFY and Sci-Fi stories, where the galaxy learns why humans are never underestimated twice. The summons reached him while his hands were still black with coolant and alloy dust, a sterile station-wide alert that didn't bother explaining why a maintenance tech was being ordered to the ceremonial dining tier. Elias Rowan almost ignored it. Hunger changed his mind. Humanity's Vanguard presents the story of how the wrong seat can change an empire. The hall was a cathedral of light and polished crystal alloys, voices hushed by wealth and rank, uniforms layered with insignia Elias had only seen on recruitment posters. His boots squeaked once on the marble floor, and that single sound turned heads. He felt every stare land on his grease-stained jacket, on the scar across his knuckles, on the unmistakable posture of someone used to crawling through reactor guts instead of standing upright. He spotted an empty table near a sculpted support column and moved fast, eyes down, ignoring the subtle gold inlays on the surface. He sat, exhaled, and reached for water. That was when a calm voice, measured and curious, said, "You're very far from where you're supposed to be." Elias looked up and realized too late that he had sat at the Emperor's table. The guards did not move. That frightened him more than weapons ever could. The woman across from him didn't wear a crown. She didn't need one. Her chair hovered, silent and impossibly stable, its gravitic field humming with technology far beyond civilian manufacturing limits. She was young, dark-haired, her eyes sharp in a way that suggested intelligence sharpened by isolation. "Relax," she said gently, lifting a hand before Elias could stand. "If you leave now, they'll assume you did something wrong." Elias froze, then slowly sank back into the seat. He introduced himself out of reflex, voice rough, honest. She smiled faintly. "I'm Cirrus Vallon," she replied, naming herself without titles. "And yes, this table belongs to the Imperial bloodline." She studied him like a puzzle no one else had bothered to pick up. After a moment, she asked a question that had nothing to do with etiquette or politics. "Do you know why neural rehabilitation fails across 9 advanced civilizations?" Elias blinked, thrown completely off balance. He admitted what he was a systems mechanic specializing in adaptive interfaces. Her interest sharpened instantly. She told him about the accident, the severed command pathways, the specialists who had all reached the same conclusion. Permanent paralysis. The chair was the compromise. Elias heard something beneath her calm explanation. Not despair. Frustration. The kind engineers recognized. And frustration, to humans, was an invitation. Elias listened while nobles pretended not to eavesdrop and guards pretended not to tense. He asked questions no physician had bothered with, about signal intent instead of signal transmission. When she finished, he didn't apologize before contradicting every expert she'd met. He grabbed a cloth napkin and began sketching with a servo stylus. "They're trying to rebuild the bridge," he said quietly. "Humans stopped doing that on fractured moons." He explained how human pilots learned to think movement instead of commanding muscles, how intention could be rerouted, translated, weaponized. Cirrus leaned forward, breath shallow, eyes locked on crude diagrams that represented hope no one had offered her before. "You're suggesting a cognitive bypass," she whispered. Elias nodded. "A living interpreter between will and motion. It won't feel natural at first. Humans don't care about that part." Silence stretched. Then she laughed soft, stunned, real. Across the hall, the Emperor stopped mid-conversation. Cirrus met Elias's eyes. "If you're wrong," she said, "nothing changes." Then she extended her hand. "If you're right." "Everything does." Elias took it, grease and all, unaware that the decision had already echoed through Imperial intelligence channels. Somewhere above the hall, alarms quietly armed themselves. They worked in a lab that had never failed anyone, because it had never tried anything new. Imperial engineers watched from behind transparent barriers as Elias dismantled sacred equipment without hesitation, replacing precision with adaptability. He argued with mathematicians, ignored protocol, and asked Cirrus to imagine walking instead of commanding legs. Progress was not elegant. It was human. The first successful impulse made the hover chair shudder violently, triggering security lockdowns across the sector. Guards stormed in. Generals shouted. Elias stood his ground, refusing to stop. "You don't interrupt a translation mid-sentence," he snapped. Cirrus focused, jaw clenched, sweat beading at her temples. The chair descended a centimeter. Only one. The room went silent. That single movement rewrote centuries of medical certainty. Data spiked beyond projected tolerances. Imperial eyes flagged the process as unstable, dangerous, forbidden. The Emperor arrived personally, his presence compressing the air. He watched his daughter strain, watched a human mechanic refuse to kneel. "Explain," the Emperor commanded. Elias didn't look at him. "She's learning a new language," he said. "And you don't punish someone for mispronouncing their first word." The Emperor ordered the project terminated anyway. Termination didn't mean shutdown. It meant seizure. Imperial doctrine classified Elias's work as a potential military asset the moment it succeeded. Security drones moved in. Elias reacted faster than protocol allowed, ripping out a manual override he'd installed without permission. The lab lights flickered. Cirrus screamed as feedback surged, her neural load spiking beyond safe limits. Elias slammed his palm against the interface, rerouting everything through himself, using his own nervous system as a grounding path. Humans were good at absorbing punishment. The Emperor shouted for medics. Elias shouted back that stopping now would kill her. For 3 unbearable seconds, nothing happened. Then Cirrus's foot touched the floor. Not by command, by decision. She stood shaking, imperfect, defiant. The Emperor's certainty fractured in real time. Alarms died. Guards lowered weapons they hadn't realized they were aiming. Elias collapsed, nerves screaming, consciousness flickering. As medics rushed in, Cirrus stood unaided for exactly 4 seconds before falling to her knees. She was laughing, crying, alive in a way the Empire had denied her. Elias lost consciousness hearing the Emperor say one word into his cum. Contain. The Empire tried to own the breakthrough. Humans responded as they always did. They shared it. Elias vanished into recovery while human networks dissected the process, simplified it, stripped it of Imperial control structures. Within weeks, paralyzed veterans across 3 systems took their first steps. The Empire issued cease orders. Humans ignored them. When Elias finally woke, Cirrus was walking beside his bed, unassisted, scars visible, posture untrained but proud. "They're calling it dangerous," she said quietly. "They're calling you reckless," Elias smiled weakly. "That's how we know it works. Outside the hospital viewport, ships moved. Human ships. Too many." Cirrus stopped walking. She looked at him, eyes clear, resolved. "My father doesn't understand humans," she said. "He thinks power is control." Elias met her gaze. "We think power is momentum." The hospital alarms began to ring, not medical this time. Strategic. The Empire had made its decision. Cirrus straightened, human made exosport humming faintly under her skin. "Then we'd better move," she said. Because the Empire had just declared human adaptability a threat to galactic order. They escaped aboard a ship that shouldn't have flown, powered by jury-rigged translators and human refusal to ask permission. Imperial interceptors closed in, superior in every measurable way. Elias watched Cirrus stand at the cockpit threshold, hands shaking, then steadying as she thought herself forward. The ship responded like a living thing. Not perfect. Not safe. Effective. Human networks flooded the void with open-source schematics, turning every disabled citizen into potential defiance. The Empire fired warning shots. Humans answered with solutions. Cirrus took the pilot's chair without assistance. "They taught me to sit," she said. "You taught me to move, the jump engaged on raw intent, space folding around an idea instead of a command." As stars stretched, Elias understood the truth the Empire never would. Humans weren't dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they refused to accept the shape of their limits. Somewhere behind them, an Emperor watched control slip through his fingers. Somewhere ahead, an entire galaxy adjusted its threat assessments. Humanity didn't conquer that day. It demonstrated something far worse. That survival was a creative act. That obstacles were invitations. And that sometimes the wrong table was exactly where humans changed everything. If you want more HFY stories where humanity breaks the rules of the universe itself, subscribe to Humanity's Vanguard HFY and Sci-Fi stories.